Hello, everybody, and welcome. Today, we are going to talk about staying calm through the art of de-escalation. This training is for anyone who works with youth on a daily basis. So, any staff at our OJA contracted facilities, so level E facility staff, medium secure, and detention facility staff. By the end of this training, you will be able to recognize the warning signs of emotional escalation, learn strategies to respond appropriately, and keep everyone safe, which is really the most important part. I want you to imagine a time when you became angry or frustrated. How did you react? How did you want to react? Did you want to yell, pound your fist? So how can we tell if someone is becoming escalated? Well, it looks different for different people. And the better you know someone, the more likely you are to recognize their signs of escalation. What are some of the telltale general signs of emotional escalation? If you notice any of these behavioral signs, that should tip you off that something is not quite right. So clenched fists, not responding, not answering your questions, just generally being defiant. Red face, a clenched jaw or clenched teeth, pacing back and forth, fidgeting with things, yelling or bullying others, glaring at people or exhibiting a change in their physical stance, puffing their chest out just to try to look tough, talking back and pushing boundaries. Everyone has a right to feel how they're feeling, but there are appropriate ways to react to these situations. And it's our job to model acceptable behavior and tell these kids what's okay and what's not okay in terms of expressing their feelings. And it's okay to be mad or irritated, upset, frustrated, or angry, but it's not okay to threaten others or be physically aggressive or say hurtful things while we're feeling these negative emotions. It's important to have a plan in place to help these kids manage their big feelings. And the sooner you begin efforts to help the kid identify their feelings and help them appropriately express their emotions, the more likely you will be successful at de-escalating behaviors where the individual, other residents, and staff may get hurt. Let's say a youth is exhibiting some of the signs of escalation. If we don't know how to handle this situation, we ourselves might experience an alarm reaction. And when something stressful happens, we are likely to react in one of three ways, which is to freeze, fight, or flight. I think it's also important to define what stress means, which is our perception of our ability to cope with a situation. It's not the actual event, it's our thinking about the event. Responding to stress is normal. So when we're met with stressful stimuli, it is totally normal to flight, fight, or freeze. We are programmed to exhibit these responses to protect ourselves. So if we want to change the way that we react to stress, we have to learn and practice new ways of reacting to these stressful stimuli. In order to do that, we have to make sure that we feel safe and maintain consistency in our efforts. So how do we combat these alarm reactions? We need to recognize what's going on in our own bodies. So we need to pay attention to what happens to us when we are stressed out and not allow those feelings to be a barrier to addressing the situation with an escalated youth. It's really important to remain calm and take a deep breath. In through your nose, out through your mouth. So when you're taking these deep breaths in, you're increasing the oxygen to your brain, which reduces stress hormones and increases the likelihood that you will respond using your cortex, which is what we want. That's your thinking brain, instead of your limbic brain, which is your emotion center. So we want to allow more oxygen into our thinking brain so that we can react more rationally. Breathing also lowers heart rate, which is extremely helpful in stressful situations. We also want to figure out helpful ways to get through the situation. So we need to manage these situations through self-talk or mantras. So telling yourself that you can do this, you can help, that you've got this, can be really helpful. We need to learn how to regulate our alarm reactions in order to help our youth regulate their alarm reactions. If we are stressed out, we could experience cognitive distortions, which are thoughts that cause us to perceive reality inaccurately. And if we can't think rationally about a situation, then we're not going to be able to help our kids figure out how to get through their situation. Now that we have discussed our reactions to stress as adults, let's talk about some of the reasons a youth may struggle with their emotions. They may be stressed out. Something or someone might have triggered past trauma they've experienced. They may be having a sensory overload. So loud noises, too many people in one place, somebody touched them and they didn't want to be touched. Maybe they saw a fight and remembered something from their past that upset them. Not having much contact with their family, being uncomfortable in placement, which is likely, especially at first. Feeling like things are just unpredictable. They may feel vulnerable or scared. They may be trying to put on a show for other residents by trying to act tough. Adult behavior may be a reason for their escalation. So, insensitive communication, being aggressive in your speech or your physical stance, or being demanding with the youth may set them off. Adjustment to boundaries and having rules, they may not be used to having someone tell them what to do. They may not be used to following a structured schedule. They likely have poor social skills. Most of the youth that we work with don't have great social skills, and they are often unable to communicate their feelings and needs and wants appropriately with others, and this can be very frustrating to them. They may have some underlying medical health issues. They may have some mental health issues, such as depression, anxiety. They may be on the autism spectrum. They may be withdrawing from substances. And it's important to note that it could be a number of these different reasons together. It could be a number of things that have accumulated and have caused this stressful situation for them. So there are certain things we want to try to avoid when we notice a youth becoming escalated. We can't rationalize with them, so we don't want to try to rationalize. We don't want to argue or get defensive. Just remember, it's not really about you. It's likely about something else. We don't want to get loud. We don't want to get physical with them. We don't want to point our finger or turn our back. So what can we do to help the situation? We want to appear calm, even if we're not calm, because if we appear nervous, the youth could feed off of that energy, which could have the opposite effect of what we're going for. And remember to take a deep breath and just focus on your training that you've had. After you breathe and before you do anything else, it's important to assess the situation. So we don't want to assume that we know what's going on, because we might not fully understand the scope of the situation. These youth are communicating with us through their behavior, and we can understand their communication through assessing the situation. What are we assessing? We want to observe our surroundings. We want to know what's going on around us. Are there others in the room? Is there anyone who can help? Are there people making the situation worse? You can calmly ask them to leave. If you see someone who may be likely to get hurt, calmly ask that person to leave. Are there objects within reach? If there is anything dangerous that can be thrown or used as a weapon, slowly and calmly direct the youth away from those items. It's important to remove any unhelpful variables from these stressful situations. Is there an audience? It would probably be helpful to move the situation to another location, if so. A location where it's quieter, more private, there's less noise, but always make sure that you are still visible to other staff for your safety. Kids are less likely to calm down when peers are around them. They might want to show how tough they are to their friends. Keep in mind, there are a number of options that we can go to before things get to the level of physical management. It's important that we use our options, all of our options that we have at our disposal. After we have assessed the situation and removed any unnecessary variables, so any other peers in the picture, and have moved to a quieter location with fewer distractions, in a low, calm voice, respectfully tell the kid what you need from them. It's important to give them space. Don't crowd them. suggest options. Like, hey, do you want to go take a walk and we can talk about this while we're walking? Make sure that you listen, that you're not just hearing the kid, but you're actually listening to them and that you're asking them to help you understand the situation. What do we hope to achieve by taking these proactive steps? We're ensuring that the first and most important objective is to reduce the level of arousal. We want to make sure that at some point discussion becomes possible. Not too quickly after the stressful situation and the escalation, but at some point we want to make sure that we can discuss what happened with the individual. Some helpful ways to respond to a youth who is in crisis mode is to address them by name. This can help ground them. It can get them to pay attention to you instead of the problem that they were focused on. Use simple and clear language. And this is not the time to show off our vocabulary skills. We need to use words that we know the kid will understand. If you are ever wondering whether you're responding appropriately and doing the right things, ask yourself these 3 questions. Will my response meet the person's needs? Is my response respectful and dignified? And will my response maintain safety? And if you say yes to all 3 of these questions, then you are likely responding appropriately to the situation. During the time a kid has become escalated, you may feel like you're right because you're the authority, you're the adult, so the kid should listen to you, which is often the case. But when a kid is escalated, it's different because remember, they can't think straight when they're stressed out and escalated. They may be experiencing cognitive distortions. So keep in mind, we are trying to avoid a power struggle. We are not trying to win an argument. So we're going to look at an overview of some do's and don'ts that you can follow during an emotional escalation with kids. Don't yell, scream, or raise your voice. Do speak calmly and address the youth by name because remember, it helps to ground them and it helps them to focus on you instead of the situation. We don't want to give the impression that we're trying to control them. We do want to give alternative suggestions to redirect the behavior, such as asking them if they want some water in a styrofoam cup, asking them if they want to go for a short walk and help you understand what's going on. Don't crowd the kid or allow them to get between you and the door. You may need to access the door. You may need to ask for additional help from staff members, etc. Do try to give them a good amount of space. This will likely help them to calm down a little bit. Don't approve the behavior. So don't laugh at them, brush it off. Don't get defensive.
Don't say, tell me how you feel. The kid might see this as more of a demand. Do say, help me to understand what you're saying to me. Help me to understand what's going on. Don't state potential consequences in an authoritative way. Try not to sound bossy or demanding. Do state consequences in an understanding and empathetic way, such as, I see that you're upset. If you continue to threaten me and others, then X, Y, and Z is going to happen. And I know you don't want that to happen. I don't want that to happen for you. Try to only answer questions in which the youth is requiring actual information. If the youth asks why all the staff are such jerks, it's probably better just to not answer that question. If the youth asks when they get to go outside, get some physical activity, it's okay to answer that question. Before considering responding through physical management, it's important to ask a few questions. If you know of a staff member who has an especially good relationship with the kid, you might want to ask for their help or ask someone else to ask for their assistance. Ask the kid, is there any adult at the facility that they might like to talk to, that they feel comfortable with, that could help them calm down? And if you feel like you need help from another staff member, it's okay to ask for help. Just make sure you do so calmly so as to not alarm the kid. If it looks like you have exhausted all efforts, you've used all the tools in your tool belt, you have done all of the do's and none of the don'ts, and the kid still remains escalated and does not appear to be managing their behavior any better, you might consider moving into a physical response strategy. The only time we want to use a physical strategy is when it looks like someone is going to get hurt. You should only do a physical strategy if you have completed an approved child care management system training. So only if you have completed a CCMS training. It is important to remember that during and after the restraint, you should remain as calm as possible. Follow your approved training. Do not use excessive force. Don't yell. Don't demean the youth. This will only make things worse. We can and will help youth manage their emotions and behavior if we remain consistent. So the best case scenario, you're able to help the kid choose appropriate expression of their feelings and altogether avoid an escalation. By keeping your cool and using some of the tools in your tool belts, everyone learns and hopefully stays safe. Make sure you find a time later on in the day when the youth is calm and discuss the situation. See what was going on with them. Check in. It's really important to recognize and reward good behavior. If the youth tried to control their emotions and behavior, praise them. Positive reinforcement works wonders. And if your facility allows treats such as, an extra cake or dessert after dinner, then give them a little treat for doing good. The silver lining in dealing with these stressful situations with these kids is that hopefully we come out on the other side learning about ourselves, learning about others in the situations, learning about the kid who has escalated. And if we remain respectful and keep our composure, hopefully we'll have the opportunity to deepen our relationships with the kids. It can be extremely challenging to be calm in stressful situations and be respectful and kind to a youth who maybe is currently not being very kind to you. In their regular life, they may not see appropriate ways to react to situations. And as adults who are committed to helping these youth, we want to ensure we treat young people with respect and model appropriate, mature behavior for them so that they can develop new ways of thinking and behaving. We have a large responsibility, and these kids need us. Thanks for being up for the challenge, and thank you for joining me for this training. Have a great rest of your day.